Hi and welcome to my food forest. Today I would like to share with you uh, a little bit about the annuals that I'm growing in my garden. Now, as you know, I grow plants on three different levels: the ground floor, first floor, and on the second floor terrace. So right now, let me just show you what I have growing on the first floor. So here you can see I have some Malabar spinach that is doing quite well. These were um, these just grew up by themselves. They were volunteers in my garden. Here I have okra, 2 to a pot is what I normally do. Small dragon fruit seedlings, and then this is ash gourd. Some more greens, and this is a purple brinjal. I have a chili and basil that's growing together here in this bag. So on an average I have about right now I have about 11 okra plants growing, and one had got venal sclerosis, so I kind of removed that plant. I wasn't sure whether it was a viral problem or nutritional deficiency. Here again, these are all white brinjals, and I have a volunteer tomato. This is a chili plant that has been there from the month of January or February, and it's after pruning it and a little bit of soil amendments, it's started to once again yield a lot of green chilies. This is a ground cherry plant. Okra here, some basil, and here I have my cherry tomatoes. That's a golden variety, golden yellow variety of cherry tomatoes. 2 to a bag, and some more greens. This is the Ceylon spinach, regular spinach, palak, some more dragon plants, and these are the yogurt cups that I use as my little seed trays. Now here I have 3 San Marzano tomato seedlings growing. These are an indeterminate heirloom variety. First time I'm trying them out, and I hope to get a decent result this time. And some more spinach and other greens which I harvested yesterday. Now here is another seedling tray. What I have here, these are all pak choy. And then I have some cabbage. I've sown cabbage, cauliflower, and I'm waiting for all of them to sprout now. Another variety of thing. Here okra again. This is again a very old brinjal plant which has again started to flower after heavy pruning. A cherry tomato seedling that is growing along with basil. I'll have to transplant this soon. And here is my capsicum. Now this, I was a little impatient and I started this seed when it was still peak of summer, and it grew up to be quite spindly, and I was a little scared to prune it. As you can see, it's quite tall. But once the weather became favorable, I did prune it on top, and as you can see, after a lot of heavy pruning and pinching off the flowers, it's got a decent structure and it started bearing a lot of flowers, and I hope to get some good sized capsicums from it. Now here I have turmeric growing in these 3 bags, and if you look down here in this bag, I have my bottle gourd. Now 2 bottle gourd seeds have sprouted, and I hope to train them up this as using this as a trellis. So this is as far as the first floor goes. So this is in the ground, and what you see here, I know it looks a mess. Here I have two kinds of yam growing in the ground right now. I face a lot of issues with bandicoots and mongoose and other things, so here I've tried different plants, but these seem to survive. The yam seems to be able to manage the hostile environment, and I don't think the bandicoots care much for the yam. So that's sprouting. That's the big sized yam. And then, if you can see here, this was a chili plant that was doing really well until it was attacked by the pests, the rodents, and they have finished off. Another brinjal plant, which is a casualty. Now this succeeded. This has survived, this brinjal, and hopefully it will give us set some lovely eggplants soon. What you see there in the background here is the perende. I'm not very sure about the English name. So as far as the ground goes, yam, brinjal, I was hoping chilies, but then that was a failure. Those are what I have been able to manage. Now this is again another variety of yam. Tamil we call it pidikarne. And in the same pot I had sown cluster beans. So after the rains, you see two of them are still there. And with great hopes and with great dreams, I had planted a pumpkin sapling which had grown beautifully, and made this lovely thorn cage around it to prevent the bandicoots from getting at it. And after all that back-breaking work, when I came back the next morning, all I could find was that little stump you see here, and all the rest of the plant had been eaten up. So never say die policy. What I shall do is try turmeric instead in this pot. I'm also looking at using this space after preparing the beds. I have a lot of stones. I need to work on it. I would like to try out some potatoes, since I have some seed potatoes in the house. So another yam. These are the fingerling kind of variety of yam, and they're quite tasty. So yes, and I have a few more greens growing here and there. Turmeric, which is hiding here. Turmeric. And this is the Ceylon spinach. And I had some colocasia which had died due to the intense heat, and it just comes back once the rains come. You can see here, this is a colocasia. They just grow back after favorable conditions return. However, the ones that I had grown in a container on the ground floor, that has never dried out completely, and I'll show you that now. This is the other part of my garden. I have a lot of container grown plants here, and this, as you can see, is colocasia. The leaves are edible, the tubers are edible, and I also have the small variety of yam, one more growing there. And as you can see here, this was a white brinjals, two saplings that I had bought just before the lockdown, and as it started flowering during the intense heat in Chennai, the flowers just fell off, and the plant didn't do much. So what I did was again pruned it heavily, and it has grown again. As you can see, it is looking really nice. I'm not so sure whether it's going to yield anything. It's just a trial, a test from my side to see whether it does succeed in bearing anything. These are beetle leaves, and here I have greens, different varieties of greens growing, stuff that is loved by my family. And as far as vegetables go, that's it on the ground floor. What I would really like to show you is what I treated myself to, knowing that the lockdown situation was going to continue. I had invested in these and they are on the second floor. So let me show you what I have. So as you all know, thanks to the lockdown and current scenario that the world is facing, insecurity caused due to accessing food as and when we need it. It really acted as a stimulus for me personally, and I went all out to try to grow food as much as possible for my family at home. And so this year I invested in 2 raised beds, as you can see here. These are something that I've been really wanting for a long time, and yeah, I managed to get them. I managed to access the coco peat blocks and the vermicompost, the red soil, and we did the filling by ourselves, my son and I, with a little bit of help from my husband. We did all the manual work, and so this bed is 10 by 4 and depth is 1.5 feet. And let me just show you what and all I've started off here. It's something that fills me with a lot of joy, and I just wanted to share these updates with you. So here, the first line, you can see these are the cowpeas or the karamani, and then at a much later, this was started in beginning of July, first week of July, and then you have some amaranthus growing here, some spinach seedlings. Now I did plant in rows from this part onwards. Beetroot, what you see here are beetroot saplings, seeds that are sprouted. They're doing quite well, but there are some gaps because I wanted to see if some of the older seeds that I had would germinate, and they failed. So this part is empty and I plan to transplant something there. So yeah, and then I have some tomato seedlings here. Now here, this part again was a bit of a failure. I tried sowing radish and the lone fellow here, radish and carrot, and well, the seeds were old and they did not really germinate. They didn't really take off. But let me show you the new seeds that I procured from All That Grows website and also Snapdeal. Well, I did manage to get some seeds, and I'm really happy with the seeds I got from All That Grows. Now what you see here are turnips. This is the white and purple variety, and what I did was now this part of the bed I switched to square foot gardening, and as you can see, from this bolt to this bolt, it's 2 square feet length, and so I had planted pumpkins here. The one that was bitten by the rodents was the second one that had sprouted here. I didn't want it, so I had removed it. So this pumpkin vine is doing beautifully, and as a border to the pumpkin, I had sown, or rather my children had sown turnip seeds, and also these are the red radish, the globe variety, and they all seem to be, they germinated within 2 days, and they're growing really nicely. This over here, yeah, so here what I had is I had sown some okra seeds, and some came up, some failed. These were old seeds. Now I followed an L shape. Okay, turnips, and then it turned, and the straight line was radish. And over here, this part, I had sown coriander, and you can, this is a weed. So yeah, you can see the coriander coming up. Now while I planted my okra seeds, what I did was I wanted to try out ridge gourd, and now some of the seed packets were not labeled, and I just took a seed that looked like a ridge gourd and I planted 2 of those. And what I found was it wasn't ridge gourd, it was actually, I think, a watermelon, as you can see. And yeah, so that's okay. What I plan to do is I want to let this pumpkin trail over and occupy this part of the terrace, and I'm hoping to do the same with the watermelon, but rather on this side. I hope there's no cross pollination that happens. And later I did plant ridge gourd seeds, and you can see this already germinated. So as I said, I'm really happy with the quality of seeds I procured this time round. So if you all want to try out a new seed shop, I think you can give All That Grows a look up. And here for about 2 by 2 square feet, I had sown onions, and yeah, that's a solid, I had about a couple of onions which had grown, but now there is only one standing. I don't know why that is. Anyway, so hopefully, I was banking on the rains coming and watering my garden yesterday, but that wasn't to be the case. So I have also planted some lab seeds, bush lab in an L-shaped inverted L, and so I just used the space as I saw fit. Now when we move over to the second bed, this is the rough trellis that my family has been helping me with. They've been trying to do some kind of trellising. Let me show you what's growing here. Now, what you see here are double beans. To be specific, when I looked it up, what I found was the specific variety was a Christmas butter bean that I have sown all along this line, and they're the climbing variety, obviously. So I'm wondering whether this is the first time I'm trying them out. So I'm hoping to learn a few lessons. And here, these are my bush beans, and I've had 100% germination. I'm so thrilled. So these are my 2 rows of bush beans, and now I've done extremely intense planting. That means I've done it like really close together. And if I zoom in here, let me show you. What I did was I then did 3 rows. Now the small sprouts that you see here, they're all radish. I sowed the regular white radish, and then the red and white variety, half white, half red variety. Now I'm not sure which I sowed in which part, but one variety seems to be taking its time. But as you can see here, they're just starting to pop their heads out. This has already done so. The second line that you can see, these are the beetroots, and this line, they are the turnips that I have planted. These are the red variety, and after that, now I have sown seeds here, capsicum, pepper plant seeds here, and I'm waiting for them to germinate. Now once, depending on the rate of germination, number of seeds, what I will do is keep 3 plants here at a distance of about a square foot. So square foot gardening, you normally do 1 capsicum plant per square foot. So I shall keep 3 and transplant the rest. So I am just so happy looking at the beans. I have always wanted to do this. So, and I'm really, really thrilled with my butter beans as well. I'm hoping that I do not face any issues, major issues, hopefully. I have done my bit of reading up on it. Now, the remaining 6 feet by 4 feet is still left for me to plan out as and how I please. I'm hoping to transplant some of the saplings from below back here, and that's it. So, yeah, one more thing I have growing here is this bitter gourd, which is looking really sad. All it needs is some water. Now, this was again a volunteer plant on the ground floor, and I didn't dare risk it. And since the strawberry tree that I planted died, and I thought I could use that as a trellis for this bitter gourd to climb up, and I plan to do a little bit of trellising here for the plants, for other plants to grow. So that's it, my update on my annuals of veggies that I'm growing in my garden right now. And so for those of you who want to give it your all during this lockdown, um, it's a perfect opportunity to motivate you to be resilient, to be self-sufficient in a few things at least. Go green and grow your own food. Be blessed.